And it's good weather for the people who are still cleaning up right now from those devastating storms.
Oh, goodness.
How many tornadoes did we end up having?
Yes, we ended up having 9 tornadoes touch down in the state of Michigan
Wow.
as of, this morning. Now, at any point in time, the National Weather Service can send a team out and assess and send out new information. So I haven't checked that since about 8 a.m. this morning, but they'll continue to kind of bring us updates in case there's any additional ones. But right now we're set at 9 confirmed tornadoes, 5 to 6 of which are considered in West Michigan.
That's wild. And you guys called it. You were right on the money with that, with the forecasting there. And you knew it was going to be bad, and it was. Yeah, I mean, you guys should really, claps to you guys because you guys made sure that we were aware of this. So, last Thursday we had this severe weather come through, trail of destruction in its wake. At one point, 200,000 people were without power.
Yeah.
And I think that's really, really telling to show everybody that we're now at around 14,000 people without power. So they've really worked hard. We had somewhere between 500 and 700 crews out working to restore power to those folks. A lot of the power outages that we're seeing are mainly down near Kalamazoo. It looks like Portage is also included in that. And then, of course, that big cluster of outages is in the Battle Creek area, or just north of Battle Creek in Calhoun County. But I mean, it was wild because on the map you could see how many outages followed in a straight line, and that was really where a lot of the storms did pack a punch.
Yeah, and we kind of consistently see this little jump inland. That right now has a lot to do with the fact that Lake Michigan is cold. It causes these storms to weaken just a little bit, and then they get reintroduced to our atmosphere. They get refueled, and we see them take off by as early as eastern Allegan County. That was, of course, the case again this time around, where we saw 2 tornadoes touch down in both Martin as well as Dorr. And then we had a tornado in Kent. Actually, let's pull up my map so I don't mess up any of my data here in terms of where things touched down at. There we go. Okay, so we had 5 tornadoes considered West Michigan, right? There was 1 tornado in Lansing, which is technically underneath the National Weather Service's jurisdiction here in Grand Rapids as well. But Battle Creek had an EF0. Bellevue had an EF0. Dorr had an EF1. Our strongest tornado was in Martin, which is where I was on Friday.
Which is not surprising.
Yeah, it did not surprise me in the slightest when this ranking came down. 95 mile per hour winds on the ground for 8 miles. And then very impressively, Caledonia to Saranac had an EF1 tornado as well, but this time around 14.5 miles. That's how long that tornado touched down on the ground. That's a fairly long track for us here in West Michigan.
Well, I was going to say, is that considered a long? I know I've seen long track tornadoes that are 150 miles to 200 miles long, but I mean, in the grand scheme of things, would you consider that a long track?
There's probably exact numbers, and I don't know them off the top of my head, so I won't say yes, but I will say in terms of West Michigan tornadoes or Michigan tornadoes in general, that's a pretty long track tornado for us. Now, in terms of also tornadic activity, I mean, this has been a crazy year. We're 4.5 months into the year. Our average tornado stat is around 13 tornadoes per year.
Wow, and where are we at now?
25.
Wow.
25 tornadoes, mainly from that March 30th event, and then we had this past week's event. But that's a lot of tornadoes to have touched down.
It is a lot of tornadoes, and it is actually astonishing because I feel like we've had 2 really big storms that have come through over the last couple of months, and both of those storms really hit us hard.
Yeah, and they both had very similar structures to them. They come in those line formations, and then we kind of get the couple discrete cells that break off the main band. I mean, that is what we were watching for, the 4 of us meteorologists all day long. We were like, we've got to watch for the discrete cells on the bottom of the storm. When we say that, we mean, there's that evident line of storms that we watched, and that was pretty much everybody to the north of 96. Then you get those couple cells that separate from the main line. People discount them. They say, oh, well, that's not, look at that line.
Yeah.
It's the couple cells that break off that you want to watch because they have their own energy field. They're untapped storms, we call them. They're like their own little energy pocket, and those are the ones that can get really strong really fast.
Yeah, so one of the strong storms, again, you were mentioning Martin. You were out there talking to some of the folks. Here's what some of the residents had to say about cleanup efforts so far.
When you're ready.
I am rolling.
Okay, can I have you start by saying and spelling your name for us?
Mike Shuttler, Shettler.
Mike, tell us a little bit about what you experienced last night.
I think I'm still trying to realize what I did experience last night. Luckily, my wife and kids were out of town. I was the only one home with the dog, and unfortunately, I was sleeping upstairs, and I mean, it sounded like a freight train. As if a freight train and a 747 flew on top of our house. and did not realize at the time what had happened, and started seeing it was completely pitch black. I had no idea. And then when I saw the tree behind us here, which has been standing there for, I don't know, 100+ years, and the fact that it got ripped out of the ground and I got a 6-foot hole now, I did not realize the power of what took place last night.
What goes through your head? You're upstairs, you're asleep in your bedroom, it's 11 o'clock at night, and you're hearing this happen. What are you thinking in that moment?
You know, I've never been through a tornado before. So, the sirens are going off, I'm hearing them, I'm like, all right, I should probably do something. But we've heard them 100 times before, and this was the first time it actually hit. So I'm lucky what didn't go through my head was my bedroom window, but at the same time, I immediately went downstairs, grabbed the dog, and just got as much cover as I could get.
How much warning did you have before you felt like the tornado was actually here right along with it?
I'll give everyone credit. There was warning. I mean, there was warning all day about a bad storm, and the sirens were going off. So, kudos to the emergency system. All the credit in the world. But, in that moment when it's happening, you're at a complete loss. You just don't know what to do other than get cover.
Were you guys, expecting?
Yeah, get cover indeed. They hear those sirens, have multiple ways. Don't rely on those sirens.
Yes.
Use your phone, use all the apps to your advantage, including the 13 app. We usually use that as a good resource too. So, people will be cleaning up there for a while.
Yeah, I'm so grateful that of 9 tornadoes that touched down, we did not have any fatalities, any serious injuries that we know of as of right now. And so grateful for that.
Absolutely. Well.